Man, Nancy Pelosi believes that what the president did today and the reforms he put in place, the database uh, for police um, that are put on report for violating person's civil rights. Um, she believes that everything that the president did just fell sadly short. Uh, and the one thing that Trump may have gotten right was that the Congress should act, uh, which she agrees, of course, being the Speaker of the House, the Congress should act because he fell so pathetically short of the bar. Uh, how long has Nancy Pelosi been in public office? How long has she been part of Congress? The majority of the people in the House that the Democrats run and have, pretty much their way with. How long, how many years? Five, 600, two, three times that uh, combined do they have, not just in public office, but in Congress? And what have they done? I completely agree with Officer Tatum, and it made me think of the O.J. Simpson trial that I talk about sometimes when the defense, Cochran and Bailey and Simpson himself, Carl Douglas, everybody showed up with these African kente cloth ties on, and I think one of them even had some kind of a bow tie or like a decoration on his ear, kind of like one of them, some other type of addition of a kente cloth, and he said, Officer Tatum, uh, who I really like on YouTube and appeared on Fox News, he said, what has Nancy Pelosi and her people done all these years in Congress other than take a knee for 9 minutes wearing these kente cloths, in George Floyd's name, the 8 minute, 46-second deal, which is the time the Chauvin knelt on his neck, apparently. All of a sudden they have something, a crisis, quote unquote, which is really just something that happened that's bad, but it's not a national crisis. It's one individual, and then if there's greater police reform, that's bad, but it's still not a national crisis. It's not risen to that level. I forget the term, but there's a term that's used. I believe I learned about it in Sociology 110, which has been too long ago, and I'm not good with names like I used to be and stuff, but I forget the term. But it's used in studying whether a country has some policing problems, or like they're talking about us with needing police reform. Do they have policing problems? Military? Is the government corrupt? Basically, is a place livable or is it past that point? It's not a place where it's safe for citizens to live, or is it even descending into civil war or something akin to that? And so I think I hear this crisis we're in and everything, and the amount of people that are completely untouched by it. So it's not a national crisis. That doesn't mean that bad things don't happen, but this is not a national crisis, you know. And I see so many examples. Ahmaud Arbery, Richard Brooks. Richard Brooks was more blatant to me than Ahmaud Arbery. And I'm no fan of police, but common sense tells you that they had the rights in these situations. I mean, I know of a lot more situations where police could have been faulted for acting in ways that weren't right, didn't make sense. most of these occasions, it's just common sense, but it's the double standard about it being a black man that's killed, and even the black folks are getting taken advantage of in my book because it's just a political opportunity. Nancy Pelosi and her people and all the greater Democrats and liberals, Black Lives Matter, all this, George Soros, it's just a opportunity to where you don't even know when you see a video come out, and it seems like in summertime the racism always heats up on the news. You wonder if it's even legit, or is it a hoax. It seems like there's a lot of hoaxing on the news, and some has been admitted to, like putting people in line for the COVID-19 tests who weren't actual patients. They put fraudulent people in line to make a hospital appear far more busy than it actually was, I believe, on CBS. And there's a lot worse, but I just don't want to go into bad conspiracy theories and the like. But there's some, it's just common sense that it's fraudulent, and the news, and somebody's paying them, and they're creating conflict. Um, these people are just opportunists, jumping on a political cause, and a lot of times it's just like they have their 15 minutes of fame and then it's gone, and then they're jumping on the next bandwagon. They do not care if there is or is not systemic racism or problems with the police, and they're also not going to care if some of these cops that got charged get convicted. The one in the Rayshard Brooks case could actually face a death penalty. I thought that the McMichaels charged in the Arbery case, I feel like they could get charged with something and get some kind of time or something out of it. Nothing anywhere close to life in prison. But this, in the Rayshard Brooks shooting, the guy could be facing life. Um, and we'll see if this is just like another 15 minutes of fame and then they move on to the next thing. But Nancy Pelosi and the like are nothing more than opportunists, and they don't care for all the different groups they claim to represent. LGBTQ, people in Latin America, the people needing to come across the border or wanting to, all these groups, there's no coherency to the Democratic. They have no plateau that they stand for. There's no coherency. It's just people from different groups that they hope to curry favor with all this racial stuff, with people on the other side of the border, people that favor abortion. And there's no coherency, no coherent argument or platform, just hoping to get enough mass and mob votes. That's why a lot of people are referring to what they've got going on as mob rule, just like old Chaz in Seattle, you know. And the governor of Washington and the mayor in Seattle, Chaz didn't take that place. They told the police to just leave it and let them have it for no reason. Then a District 9 judge says that they can no longer use chokeholds. Now, okay, we've had some controversy about that, but they can't use tear gas against a person or against radicalized crowds, rioters, looters. They can't use tear gas to disperse them, their main tool. They can't use clubs. They can't use non lethal beanbags or anything. So basically, they cannot confront any time a mob will form. It's basically saying they're not allowed to stand their ground. Because if they go in and try to just one or two or three take a guy down, put cuffs on, they can't defend themselves. They have to disperse them, and then they might arrest some of them as they separate and try to flee or whatever. They can't go in and arrest them like that, so they're basically obligating them rather than being able to stand their ground. They're obligated to flee. So they can choose to do this. If other states and cities implement that, they're already thinking about doing that in other cities, taking over blocks in cities and police stations. If other cities and states implement those laws against the police, they're going to be free to do that, and the police will just have to walk away. And then what? They apply those laws to us private citizens in our homes. So any old person can just walk in and we have to leave. And then what? Pretty soon they've been there long enough that they got squatters' rights and it's theirs and not ours, right? They're crazy. Insane.